So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Traffic Report. I just flew in from Philly, and boy, are my arms tired. It's 12:02, Howie. How you doing?
I'm doing well. That was I don't know. I was kind of expecting music tonight. I thought you might have some music.
Well, I'm still on my search for copyright-free music because we got even though it's fair use, and even though there's laws that allow us to do that, apparently YouTube does not want us to do that, and UCY doesn't want their channel taken down. So. And okay. I could sing something.
Yeah, are we allowed to hum?
Yeah. What's that? There's an old joke there, but my brain is too brain dead to even think of it.
Can you sing Far Away or?
Yeah, no, it's hum a few bars, something. I don't know. It's probably not even fit for our viewers, which is saying a lot. But so anyway. The first thing I need to do is refill my coffee cup because apparently I was not aware of the time, and I was going to do that just before. I know you got lots to say tonight because one of our main stories is about the Catholic Church in Philadelphia. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? And I'll go refill my coffee cup.
Just put me on the spot there.
Well, it's only for 30 seconds. The kitchen isn't far.
Yeah, it's not when you leave me for an entire show. But there, I was just looking through looking for articles to post to Pedogate News, and I came across a Newsweek article, about the Catholic Church, and I should probably I don't know if we retweeted it out to. The Traffic Report, but it was a few days ago, and basically it was talking about how the wrong people in the Philadelphia abuse case, went to prison, and there was a police detective that knew some things, and it took like a near-death experience for him to actually speak out. And then it's kind of like the power of the Catholic Church. I think people are just afraid to go after it. But I'm looking at the article right now, and I know the boss, because of Spotlight and the sex abuse in the Boston diocese got a lot of the attention. But Philadelphia had a pretty vast, case also. And, one of the fascinating things that I found was after everything was breaking, and I didn't get a chance to look up the exact timeline, but
I'm back, by the way, Howie.
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, okay.
But the cardinal at the time, his name was John Bellabacqua, And after the they announced some arrests and they were looking into this and whatever we're going to do, Belvaco just dies. I mean, literally within my recall is telling me like within a couple days. And by the time they went to talk to him, the body had already been buried. Like it was all like
cremated.
Yeah. And this guy,
was his little red beanie cap.
Right. I mean, you're talking about the Cardinal of Philadelphia, and I'm thinking like, wouldn't they have had like a lot of pomp and circumstance? And
end of the oven with him.
Yeah, it was done and done. So I mean, my conspiratorial mind, even at that time, was going crazy. Like, So maybe in the interim of the show, and I apologize, I've just been super busy. I just didn't get a chance to.
We both, for the technical term, I think for both of us in the last
right.
week, it's sucking behind okay.
Yeah, but and looking, I was just looking up. I was just looking for just articles to post Pedo News, and here we go again with it's like this. My tweet was basically like it never.
Stops. Never.
The expletive.
Yeah, I do
never
read. I do read your messages. It never fucking says.
It's like what and then we're it's in Christmas season, obviously, and
there's nothing like getting the Christmas season, that feeling, than a widening pedophile scandal in the church that you go to. That's.
And
doesn't do much for the Christmas spirit. No.
Yeah,
let me just get a couple of. I got some housekeeping to do here that I want to do, and I got, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we've got that, and thank you for bringing that forward. And the other, I thought my part was going to be something that I had to delete out of the promo. So, but you brought some great stuff, Greg Busaroni and that and Larry King, and that I do know part of that. But the other part, right off the bat, this is a correction, an apology / whatever you want to call it. But and the people get to see a little behind the scenes of how we put the show together. And what I do every week, you post the news articles, you send some to me, I print them out, and I have a pile vetted and unvetted. And I'd been hearing Michael Moore's name all week. It got, one of these tweets got 5,000 retweets on Twitter, so I don't feel like I was alone. But my wife had mentioned it, and she's not on Twitter. She'd seen that, heard about it on television, no less. But at any rate, I was putting the show together, and Michael Moore was somehow got in the vetted pile, and we had a new listener as I put up the promo, which the whole thing was only up for I think maybe 15 minutes, and thank goodness she asked, what's up with Michael Moore, and I started to tell her, and I was researching at the same time, and when I saw the website to which this article was on, I was like, uh-oh, and I continued to research, and the bottom line is Michael Moore's picture was deleted immediately. A correction was put up immediately, and there is nothing credible at this time that ties Michael Moore to any wrongdoing of any kind as far as sexual abuse or anything like this. And you did a little research of yourself on where that website that carried that story came from. You want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, I hadn't. I think I may have heard the story, and I was just waiting for confirmation. But I mean, when you told me about it, I just had done a quick search on where it originated from, and it was a site called conservativecolumns.com. And right off the bat, it just seems like a kind of a made up kind of name, like usually something catchy like conservative column. So I just looked up their did a basic who was record search on them, and the domain was started. It was created on 10/10/2017.
1010.
Red flag number one. Okay.
Right. So it's only been around, whatever. But this article about Michael Moore came out a week later. So it seems as though somebody just came up with, for whatever reason. It was registered.
I would venture to guess a reason, and the fact that the name of the website would pretty much tell you that that's some sort of somebody on the other side of whatever that is, and we know this is going on. The deep state is panicking. Everything's unraveling. A lot of the pressure to have this properly investigated and prosecuted is coming from what you could call, and that's why I hate politics, conservative circles. So what they're doing is attempting to discredit anybody bringing this out by publishing fake news, and they almost got me. So that would be my guess, especially with the name, how it came out, what it was saying, and there's so much of this. I mean, there's so much coming out so fast. I see the stuff with Brian Singer that An Open Secret is putting out, at An Open Secret and at Gabe Hoff on Twitter, the two producers of that great documentary. And this is just coming out at just an incredible rate. And it's really tough. And I'm angry at myself, for letting that get past me, because I pride myself on doing research and making sure that anything that we put out on here, or just anything in general that I end up believing, has solid facts and research behind it. And
sure.
Everything else on the show, and it never made it on the show, so that's a good thing. And I think the whole, and then I look at the big picture and the bullshit that NBC and CNN put out every day, and I feel bad because, an item of fake news, slipped by me for 20 minutes, and I don't think they feel bad at all. So in the big scheme of things, but what's right is right. I know you're an ethical person, and I consider myself an ethical person. So we make every attempt to verify any information that we put out here, and when we talk about things that aren't nailed down like that, we have our opinions, and we state that they're opinions, and that also some of these things are alleged and they're not proven. So let's just leave that one.
Well, I have an add-on to that story. And,
yes, you do. I forgot about that, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's why I'm here, to remind you of things. Mm-hmm. It's more political. Pardon the pun, more political. But and I may have mentioned this before, that Michael Moore's, his first documentary was called Roger and Me, and it's essentially his quest to find Roger Smith, who at the time was the CEO of General Motors, and confront him on General Motors closing down plants in, not only Detroit, but also Flint, Michigan, where Michael Moore was from. And, the documentary, it's done in a funny way. It shows the plight of Flint, Michigan, the juxtaposed with the rich, the affluent areas outside of Flint. And, in the interim of, going through all these, different, stories, documentary style, he's on a quest to confront Roger Smith, which he finally does at the end. Now, based on that, and he still supports, Flynn and, the auto industry and the working man and all the shit, seem to be very well aligned with what Donald Trump was talking about making America great again, bringing jobs back, high-paying jobs, stop getting, killed on labor by the Mexicans and Mexico and China, Japan, everywhere. So even if Michael Moore didn't, had several reservations about Donald Trump and whatever, he would. Donald Trump's business, the Make America Great Again part bring jobs back, put America first. That's quintessential Michael Moore. That's what he was all about.
Absolutely. But we've been telling people pretty much from day one that this political ideology setup that we have is a joke, and it's a psyop, and the conservative liberal paradigm and the Democrat Republican, it's a control system, and there's no basis in
my spiritorial mind, I'm asking myself, why is Michael Moore so vehemently against Donald Trump? Mm-hmm. And the only thing I can come up with is that he's not really against them. He may be against, some, philosophical differences, whatever. But Donald Trump seems like the guy who's going to help his town out. Take a shot at bringing jobs back to the United States. And why would if he actually agrees with Trump, why is he going so hard against him? And the only thing I can come up with is that someone is making him do it. And what would be the reason that someone would make a multi-millionaire like Michael Moore do something like that is that they've got some type of information, i.e. blackmail. They're blackmailing him to do this. And then it just comes down to what are they blackmailing him
for?
Yes.
And yeah, right. I mean, and absolutely.
Does that make sense? Am I a conspiracy nut, John?
It makes perfect sense, but also there's just the simplest solution to that, which many times it is that once you plug yourself into being an individual that is for one of these illusion sides, whether liberal or conservative or whatever, once you're plugged into that and you're making your money there, you have to toe that line. and most of the people, what we're finding out from people like Gabe Hoffman and Matt Valentinus is, a lot of many of the higher ups in Hollywood are compromised. It's an endemic, an epidemic, and it wouldn't surprise me if anybody that's risen to the heights of Michael Moore, is involved in something like that. But I think a lot of the times it's just once you pick a side in that system, you give up your right to have a free mind.
And I understand that, completely. But those people did not make a documentary called Roger and Me in 1989 about the plight of the working man, in particularly in the auto industry. So I don't he didn't say I had to vote for him, whatever. But to be, Michael Moore was, he was a cheerleader. He was leading.
When I saw that, I was a fan. I was a fan of this dude. But everything, and
I love that documentary.
He did work on 9/11 that I respected, but you know what? When it comes down, and then you really start seeing the system for what it is, and the players in it, and what you have to do to earn, be at the top levels of this, they're either ethically compromised or actually physically compromised by something, there's millions, and that hopefully this is where our culture is changing, that just go along to get along, that's as insidious as any of the rest of it, in my opinion. So they look the other way. Look at all this horrible shit that we're bringing forward week after week after week. And a lot of people just would rather watch football. It's as simple as that. And ethically, morally, that's troubling for a society. No society can, I believe, survive with, values like that. But
listen. In the past 3 weeks, we've gotten rid of like I keep emphasizing that, the sexual harassment of women, whatever. There's many terms, just as child rape has many terms, whether it's molestation or sexual assault or, whatever.
Yeah.
Whether it's abuse, harassment, unwanted advances, whatever, there's a myriad of terms. But the bottom line is it's all a precursor to what's coming. We know what's coming, but I think, they're starting off. They'll take down the sexual harassers, the Charlie Roses and the Matt Lauers and the John Conyers.
And hold on. And what I got to do there with you're talking about that. That is not harassment. What these assholes have done. Right. This is hands-on sexual assault. And to me, where you draw the line is, if they're talking shit, that's sexual harassment. When you put your hands on somebody or an act occurs, that is sexual assault. So I just clarify that for my own purposes.
So so it's like it's every week. We're getting high profile media, congressmen, and but that's it's. I wouldn't even call it the appetizer. It's just the, maybe it's the valet, parking in a nice restaurant. We know what's coming, and I'm dumbfounded here. I'm just watching my Twitter line, and this is on my account. Remember Terry Crews, who came forward? Yes.
Okay, he just. And this was 8 hours ago, but this is the pace that this shit comes out. The same guy, this is what Terry tweeted out, the same guy who runs at Radar Online and National Enquirer, who threatened Terry with a false prostitute story one day after his Good Morning America, I guess, interview, has now been accused of sexual misconduct. Abusers protect abusers. And the AP, this is vetted, the AP, former employees accused top editor at the National Enquirer and other gossip publications of sexual misconduct in the newsroom. So, wow. It's like a waterfall, and it's good. I'm not complaining at all. But.
It's 2018.
Blowing the fuck up is what.
Yeah, and people, listen. If they want to watch football, they want to pay attention to other stuff. You can't, name after name after name. We're talking, think about, think about it. A Harvey Weinstein, Charlie Rose, and Matt Lauer are done. Their careers are over. In a span of.
Okay. This is a breaking news kind of night, man. I got it because this is what we're doing.
And this is what Twitter is supposed to be about.
Okay. Neil from the Light Reports. I know you guys are bros, so I had to. This just came up on our Twitter, and I just retweeted it. Was just live and reported that Larry King, the serial pedophile of the Franklin scandal fame, unprosecuted. He went to jail for the money he stole from the savings and loan. But all these children, Paul Bonacci, one of them, and several others who directly implicated him as a pimp, and I think Henry Vinson also has done this. He's the author of DC Confessions of a DC Madam. He worked with Craig Spence in Washington D.C. and ran a prostitution ring, child trafficking ring. Has also confirmed this. But yeah, Larry has been fired from Honey Baked Hams. So we're gonna be following up on old Larry, and that's maybe you want to transition to that now or.
Yeah, we can. I mean, this all, I believe it originated from, I've mentioned him on the show before, Tim McIlharney, He's on Twitter at SharpEdge42, and he's a must follow. And I think it might have been I think it was early last week. They found this guy. It looked like Larry King. Okay.
Howie,
Toledo.
I'm gonna turn my mic off here because Elle just reported she can't hear us on UCY, so I'm gonna check that. So you go ahead. I'm just turning my mic off so we don't get.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. What a night! What a night! I think I'm gonna turn off the Twitter thing. No,
well, I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's find out. Okay. Yeah, find out if we're on.
I'll check.
Okay. So, well, I'll wait. I'll wait for you, John. We'll have a couple seconds here.
All right.
Howie, Toledo.
No, that must be Elle because I just heard it.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard I was doing my Larry King. Toledo, go ahead. Not that Larry King.
So Elle, I'm sorry, but it must be your.
Right. So they found some articles on Larry King, and he's 73 years old now, and they put the pictures side by side, and
it's him. It's him.
It's him. He has a love for opera, and he was working with this organization. I mean, the thing went
a love for opera. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying he was working with. It had come out a couple months ago that somebody thought they found him, working at a youth opera or something or other, and it sort of got lost in the shuffle. But this was like a fairly in-depth thing, and somebody wrote an article on a honey baked hams in Reston, Virginia, and it was a picture of Larry. I don't know what his. I thought maybe he owned the franchise, but that he didn't. I don't know if he was the manager, and there was. It was a picture of him and talk. It was a little write up in the local paper about honey baked hams and da da da. But they went on to find out it was I forget the name of the nonprofit that he was working with, and was once again dealing in a foreign country. But we did a simple search on Larry King, and it got it. He had a wife and second one, and everything matched up. He's got a son in Texas, and this guy was there. So I got it from Tim. We continued the thread, and realized that he is indeed, it is definitely him. And then and then Neil does what Neil does, and calls honey baked hams in Reston, Virginia.
Yeah.
asking for this guy.
I'm glad it's Neil and not me, because that would be a bad phone call.
Yeah. So but he did a statement on it, and it's confirmed that he's no longer working there. But it's time to go down there and and maybe even call honey baked hams and be like, you need, I think you need to, like, how does this fall through the cracks? But getting back to the nonprofit,
and the real, I think a bigger issue there is, hey, FBI, the statute of limitations on, because some of these kids were murdered in this ring, so now wouldn't the time be, since he skated and I guess the FBI is going to have a hard time doing this, because they basically, I'm going to retweet out the link to the free PDF of John DeCamp's book, and you'll read in there how the FBI pressured these children who had been raped to recant their stories, all except one girl who would not recant. They couldn't break her. She did more time than Larry King did over that whole mess, and hopefully this will all be unraveling, with George Herbert Walker Bush was central in that. Big surprise! Neil Bush Savings and Loan. They've got a guy, Larry King, who's been accused, by the witnesses in this case, Paul Bonacci and Troy Boner, and forgive me, I forget the name of the woman. But they were on the record. They gave depositions. The investigator for the Nebraska commission that investigated this had the goods on George Bush and Larry King and everybody else flying back with his son from Chicago. His plane fell out of the air over the cornfield in Illinois, who just happened, the sheriff of that county just happened to be the former police chief of Omaha, Nebraska, who was implicated in this scandal. Fell out of the air. And guess what? The FBI was on scene in seconds. So please read that book. And we found Lawrence King, who sung the national anthem at the Republican National Convention in 1988, I think. And he's going to be getting some a large spotlight shined on his large frame.
The nonprofit that there was an article that was written up on Mr. King in something called Opera Nova. Looks like October 30th of 2016. But talking about his opera, and he does reside in Reston, Virginia. His professional background has been in the area of human and financial development for over 11 church organizations. He's owned and operated catering companies and restaurants throughout the country. Besides sharing his business acumen with political candidates and merged business ventures, event planning and fundraising. He's been involved with the Martin Luther King Foundation, but this is the one. It's called Ahead Inc. Adventures in Health, Education, and Agricultural Development Inc. And that's where they found that they're working in foreign countries and that there may be trafficking going on.
Gee, I wonder if they're involved with the Clinton Foundation. But I guess we'll find out.
It's connections. But it's just
I would love to know why Honey Baked Hams fired him. That would be what I'd want to know from them.
Well,
he is an ex-convict and a felon.
When Neil and I show up there, we're going to ask him.
Well, we've got some top, yourself included, top-notch investigators that are working with us, and this is going to get dug seriously into.
Well, this won't be an investigation. This will be, just two guys talking. This is going to be very. Nobody top-notch about this. It's going to be like. Commando, where is he?
Yeah.
If we can find out where he lives, then we can go ask him personally.
Nobody's going to be wanting to get a honey baked ham after you two guys get there. I'm pretty sure.
The salesman.
Alicia Owens, thank you, El. Alicia Owens was the woman who was raped, trafficked by. The chief of the Omaha Police Department, Larry King, alleges, but that the FBI spent a lot of time trying to break down, and who, through a crooked judicial and jury system in Nebraska, ended up doing, I think, 10 years for perjury. And I guess the standard for perjury is just basically you just get accused of it down there, because she, her depositions were corroborated. They were, fact based, with all the other victims in that case. But the FBI and the Justice Department and the local, half of the Nebraska Senate wanted this investigated, and the other half, back to the political paradigm, half been conservative, liberal, all that horse shit, and these kids went down it. And actually, I found Paul Bonacci on Facebook and have sent a message to him. I would love to have him come on the show, and it's a miracle that he's still alive. Troy Boner, I believe, is dead. I think Alicia Owens is still alive. But yeah, these and how many of these kids were murdered? They were trafficking them to the West Coast. They were Hunter Thompson was alleged to be involved in murdering, some of these children. So it'll all come out. It's all coming out. But man, just I'll be tweeting the Franklin scandal for anybody that wants to take the time to read it. It's all documented by John DeCamp, by the Nebraska committee that was investigating this, the Franklin scandal, and a lot of that evidence is in that book. So if you want to read it, you should.
I think Franklin will one day, be admitted. I mean, I've seen Conspiracy of Silence. I've seen other documentaries on it, interviews with the people, and it's like, how could you say this isn't true? I mean, all these people lying. I mean, you just use the eye test, and it's like, come on, they're making this up. Yeah. The details. What kind of imagination could you have to talk about, like the room where these things took place, the events that took place there, and the horrific events, the traumatizing events.
Yeah, and these kids, I mean, they had nothing. They had nothing. What possible? Yeah, and that, God, to have the courage of Alicia Owen, broke it off in their ass and said, "Oh yeah, well you're trying to, you convict me of perjury. I'm not recanting my deposition. Right. I'm not doing it." She went. What is her possible motive? to go to jail for 10 years, right. and this asshole is allowed to work.
John, listen, it's factual, but the problem is that only a tiny percentage of the population has everyone ever heard of it. So it's like, put it out there and let the people decide. I mean, if it's really like we the people, it's suppress, and that's what they're good at. And when you control everything, when you control all the information, that's why you can't get out there. It's to me it's a fact, and it's like, that's when people start calling you crazy. Oh, where'd you read that? Where'd you hear? You just look at it. They're calling you. People call you crazy before they come on. Listen to the testimony. I mean,
they're
the details.
Somebody's listening now. A lot more listening than have previously been listening. So
I think maybe one day Franklin will actually be in the history books. Because it's It's proven to me. It's proven. It's just the fact that most people never even heard of it. Don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm tweeting out as we speak the free PDF to John Franklin's book, and look at the appendix in that book. It's full of evidence on these assholes and how our deep state crushed these survivors of this, blackest of black portions of American history that had George Herbert Walker Bush up to his neck in it, so
maybe they're just waiting for him to.
They should hang him in his wheelchair, strap him into the wheelchair.
I can't believe he's still alive.
Huh?
I can't believe he's still alive.
Well, from what we're finding out, what they're ingesting, which I'm just not even going to get into because it's too disgusting. But I'm sure the life extension therapies that some of these fucking I don't even call them animals because I wouldn't denigrate animals by associating them with these whatever they are. We're finding out they have some very unusual life extension therapies that I just can't even go there tonight. Sorry, but
it's cool. It's cool.
And I also, what I'm looking for right now is there was a tie-in to what we were doing, and maybe you know what it is, but I'll find it in a minute. There was a Scientology tie-in with, I don't know if it was Busaroni or one of these stories that we were working on, but I'm going to try to find that because I tweeted it out to Leah Remini and Mike Render. Or it just might have been a Pedogate news item. I can't remember. There's just so much of this stuff. It's just crazy. You want to move on to Greg and that whole story?
Sure. I mean, it's fairly cut and dry, and it just got. Did you tweet it? Did you tweet the article out?
Yes.
On the traffic report? Okay.
No, not on the traffic report, but I'm working on it.
Okay. I mean, I can send it. It was given to me that it got a write up. What I'm gonna say, disobedient. I think it was in disobedient media. I guess I should know that.
Yeah.
But this man, Greg, his name's Greg Bucciaroni, and he's from Philadelphia. And he came out in 2012 and basically talking about that he was essentially a child prostitute for some pretty elite people in Philadelphia. And he named names. He gave the times, and he's probably about my age, and this was maybe a little bit older. I mean, this was back in the late 70s. Right. He made ties, and the overall thing was that he was basically saying that there was a pedophile ring that extended to throughout Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia.
Jerry Sandusky's,
and it was connected to Jerry Sandusky, who was at Penn State starting, I believe, in the early 70s, as defensive coordinator. And I think the way Greg would have got involved, there was a boys club, some type of boys club in South Philadelphia, which is at the time still supposedly is, but the Italian section of Philadelphia. And he may have had some problems as youth and, got in with this boys club. And that's where they preyed upon the boys to get them into, essentially sex trafficking. Now, that, and his time was in the late 70s, and he actually named, right up to Ed Rendell, who in the late 70s was running for district attorney. He won
very close ties to the Clintons, Ed Rendell.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's a super delegate. I mean, he was the district attorney of Philadelphia from the late 70s until I believe 1990, when he became mayor of Philadelphia for 2 terms until 1998, and then became governor. And he said that he was at events that Ed Rendell attended, and this is all in the New York Daily News. How this has not been,
And Greg is on Twitter, no? Correct?
Yeah. At Greg, I'd have to spell it properly, but I got introduced to him.
Would you like me to do that? Would you like the spelling? Would you like the spelling of Greg's?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
All right. Bucceroni. So I guess that's at Greg Bucceroni on Twitter.
Yep. Right. Okay. Now, I got introduced to him by Sam Samby here.
Samby.
Yeah, and she does amazing. She's been doing amazing work for months, and introduced me because he still lives in Philadelphia, but he's not involved in this anymore. And I think my takeaway was that listen, he put it out that he called everybody out. He said what he knew, and now it's up for everyone, to connect the dots. But he's saying there was, basically a pedophile ring. Now there was a big case in Philadelphia in the early '90s. And the man's name was Eddie Savitz, known as after his arrest, Uncle Eddie, and he was essentially, I mean, he had boys coming to his apartment all the time, and we don't exactly know what was going on, but
yes, we do.
well, no, we don't know the extent of it, because the media reported that essentially he was just buying boys' used underwear. And when they arrested him, they found hundreds and hundreds of pairs of used underwear in Eddie's apartment, along with child pornography and other things. And just like Cardinal Bellavacqua, who, and I went back and I was reading his little story. He died before he was to testify at the trial about what he knew in the Catholic Church abuse. Eddie died of AIDS a week before his trial was about to start. So if you believe Greg's story, and Eddie was part of this ring, he could have named a lot of names, So.
Yeah, and if you look through it, and what I noticed on there, and you can go to this article, it's a great article, and what they go back to, and Jim Rothstein, detective ex-NYPD, was a contributor to the committee on organized crime, and I think it was a child trafficking task force that they had, and part of Busaroni's allegations are documented by the FBI in memos, and you see, I was reading that memo in this article, and I said, boy, that looks familiar, because Jim had released some of these documents, and then more got released just recently. But you can right here in that article, they're talking about Star Distributors Limited, which was a mafia front, and that was involved in child pornography and making and distributing it. So his testimony has been corroborated by the FBI. You think they might take what he had to say seriously, and there's a hell, like you said, we've got Rendell, we've got many Hastert, that I can't believe he's walking around, but all these.
I believe he was. I think Bucciaroni named him also. As part of this ring.
And not only have we found that to be true, but he was jailed for that. So there's more to the story, and hopefully these 4,000 plus indictments, he'll get indicted again, and all these people will be paying the piper, Larry King included. But that's a great article, and I need to do some more research on that. But and I'm going to reach out to Greg, see if he has any interest in.
I would say probably not. I believe I talked to him on Twitter months ago. It's just not. I think he's trying to keep a lower profile about it. But and I like I said, my takeaway was listen, I named everybody. It was in New York.
Yeah, kind of like Tim Hotham. He solved his brother's murder, gave the information to the FBI, and he waits for the prosecution.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want me to do at this point? Just keep retelling the story? I told the story. It's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, and let me just address that for a moment. We had Lori Handrahan, who has a great new book on child rape and what's going on, and DCF involvement and everything else. We had agreed to have her on the show, and we were trying to do it. She's just not, she's not a night owl, and she doesn't have Facebook. We were gonna do a Facebook Live. We talked about that, but we are going to get Lori on the show by hook or by crook. We were trying to do it via Periscope, and with our limited knowledge and bandwidth, it's hasn't been possible this week. But I'm continuing to work on that, and we are going to have some people on Facebook Live, and we may be going to Facebook Live, at least in some capacity, to do interviews of people that want to get on here but can't, come on at midnight. So that's still going on. But I want to shout out to her and Adam Rattertree and Tim and Tracy Hotham, who are fighting this battle daily. And one of it's a family member right now. This is really, it's a show family member, but who's dealing with the fires in California right now. And I think that's my shout outs. And I found we'll probably talk about him next week. Danny Masterson. Did you hear about that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, a Netflix star who has been accused of sexual assault, and it appears Shannon Coulter tweeted this out today, but and somebody else, another investigative journalist, had previously reported that the Church of Scientology issued 50 affidavits to the LAPD on Masterson's behalf. And it turns out that the wife of a high-level executive was one of his victims, and they were they were having a conversation about the allegations against him, and she was a part of that conversation, apparently. And I don't know her name right now, but she was a high executive in one of these production companies. And they were talking how, his allegations were unsubstantiated. And she said, well, you know what, I was one of those victims. And she's come forward. Masterson has been fired by Netflix. So, but yeah, I tweeted that out to Leah Remini and Mike Rinder today, because Masterson's a Scientology star and apparently a rapist, or an accused rapist. So, but yes, Scientology and LAPD, boy, how long have they been covering up for what's going on in Scientology? But 50 affidavits, on behalf of Danny, and it appears that at least Netflix is satisfied that he's out of there, and there's basis to these allegations, and that's good, because I'm hoping they're going to put out an open secret on Netflix. They should. I mean, they put the keepers out, which Catholic Church.
I don't think
Baltimore,
I don't think they can, John. It's such a there's not even a good copy. All the good copies are gone. I mean, it's like very. I'm just saying they probably. Well, I don't know if they can remake. I'm sure there's a good copy, but I mean online.
Yeah, no. I've talked to. Believe me, there's. This is the producers have the print of an open secret, and they can put that out on Netflix anytime Netflix agrees.
Oh, okay.
The problem that they're having is it's an HD copy of it is, I think, still free on Vimeo. We're trying to, and by the way, if you haven't followed an open secret at an open secret on Twitter,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, my mind. I didn't mean an open secret. I meant conspiracy of silence. There aren't any.
We're it's Potpourri, Pedo Potpourri tonight. We're bound.
Yeah. I my mind was still a lot on Franklin, and
so okay. We'll reach out to Greg and see, but please avail yourself of that article, because it's just that's what we've been talking about. This network, it was the Franklin scandal. Henry Vincent has written a book about it. There's 2 books, the Franklin scandal and the Franklin cover-up, that have been written about this, and Confessions of a DC Madam, written by Nick Bryant. He's written 2 books about this network. There's a Treasury report that we tweeted out, numerous times, that documents this network that was operating in D.C. and across the country and probably across the world, and it's coming to light now, and we can only hope, pray, and wait that those indictments that are currently pending, issued by the United States Department of Justice, 4,000 plus of them, is going to include this. And if they don't, they're really going to be hearing about it. But so, at any rate, what haven't we covered? Because part 2, because it's pretty much everything that's coming out is potpourri. You're getting the music industry, the television industry, you're getting Hollywood, the political. Conyers gone. That's a good thing. I don't think we talked about that. Scientology. We'll talk about Mr. Masterson next week in Scientology. But yeah, it's pretty much. I guess we could do potpourri every show. We'll try to get a little more focused, and we are having some survivors upcoming. So.
And I just want to implore people again. I mean, I tweeted it out. The handle Podobensky and V at Our Children 11. She's working. I mean, they're working their tails off on posting articles to Pedogate News and to keep this thing going. And some people have joined in, and I do when I can, and I haven't been doing as much as I probably should. But at this point, there should be hundreds of contributors to Pedogate News. Everybody just find articles and just keep. I mean, you don't have to do much research to find an article, a horrific article on child rape, child pornography arrests, child sexual assault. I mean, just these simple searches, and what's going to come back at you is, and just post articles, there's international articles. There's everything. And if we can drive traffic to the hashtag, it might actually, convert some people to stop watching football and maybe start paying attention to the realities of what's going on in this country and this world. Because every day people are getting arrested.
And that's just fine with me. And the more the merrier, and bring it on.
Oh yeah. Look, just go to hashtag Pedogate News, and it's all right there.
Baby. That's your baby. That's my.
But people,
you do signs and hashtags.
Well, you know what? So, but right now, 2 people are doing 90% of the work on that hashtag. Maybe people are reading it and retweeting, but it would be nice if we could have 20, 50, 100 people one article a day. One article a day. You'll find it. It's there. Try not to get repeats, but there are no shortages.
Wow.